Okay, let's talk about it. A couple days ago, I made a video about Mythra's kid in Xenoblade Chronicles. Where they were, who I thought they were, will they appear in Xenoblade 4? I addressed all those questions in that video, and I'll leave a link in the description down below. But today I want to talk about a theory I have seen cycling around the Xenoblade community and even in my comments on that video and throughout some of my streams over the past few months, and that is the theory that Mythra's kid is Dirk. Oh, who is Dirk, you may be asking? Mobius D. For the longest time, I thought it was a bit of a meme, that people weren't taking all that seriously, but some people may. And you know what? I like to encourage theory crafting around here, so let's talk about the idea. Could Dirk be Mythra's kid? Personally, I don't lean in that direction. I don't think he is. I think he's just an antagonist that was inserted into Xenoblade 3 to represent the cruelty of the world and how it can transform individuals and let certain personality types thrive in that environment. And you can argue that the hair doesn't match up color-wise. You can argue a whole bunch of things. You can also argue that he's Agnian, so obviously that must mean that he's Mythra's kid. There's a lot of things you can argue and point out in regards to this debate. But personally, I feel like the most steadfast argument that you can put forward as to whether or not Dirk is Mythra's kid comes down to a very basic question. Is that the story Monolith wants to tell? Personally, I don't think it is, because I think if they were going to tell a story like that, then I don't see how his actual identity is not addressed within the confines of that storyline. If Dirk was in Future Redeemed and he had Rex to bounce off of, or to spit or even wax philosophical at, yeah, I could see that being a story they may want to pursue, with Rex just trying to break through to him. I don't prescribe to the idea or the notion, by the way, that since he's Rex's kid, he has to be a goody two-shoes. Dirk was raised as an Agnian soldier. He grew up in that system, he lived countless cycles in that Agnian war machine. I think it's possible that in just one of those cycles, something snapped, and he turned into the monster he became. There are ways to tell this story in an interesting way that bounces off the development that Rex or the other party members from 2 had, including Mythra, to further this narrative and to tackle this very mature theme that it would have to be. But they didn't do that for Mobius D, for Dirk, which leads me to believe that this just isn't the type of story they are trying to tell with Dirk. That's just my opinion, though. Could he return in maybe Xenoblade 4 to be a villain again, but this time we have to find a way to break through to him, using maybe Mythra and Rex on our side to help try and break through to him? Maybe, possibly, but I just don't think that's the story they're gonna want to tell. And there's also another reason why I just don't buy the argument or the idea, even the notion, that Dirk could be Mythra's kid, and that's mainly just because his name is Dirk. Obviously, as I talked about in that other video, it would have to be Frank. I'm just joking, by the way. I feel like if you're gonna have Mythra's kid be a dude, you gotta call him Milton or Adam, or something along those lines. Hell, even Jin. I feel like it's such an obvious layup to do. And just, like, putting a hand in a hat and pulling out the name Dirk just doesn't add up to me here. I feel like this theory that Dirk is Mythra's kid did originally spawn as a meme, but the reason some people are latching onto it is because, well, we just don't know if Mythra's kid will ever actually get addressed. We don't know if there'll be a character in Xenoblade 4, if Xenoblade 4 will even have anything to do with these characters. We just don't know. I theorize that it will. I believe it will, but we don't know yet. And the fact that we've already seen Glimmer and Mio, some people may just want to assume that we've also seen Mythra's kid, and either Alexandria or Dirk best fit the bill of all the characters that were in 3 and Future Redeemed. So I don't personally subscribe to the idea that Dirk is in any way related to Rex and Mythra. I just don't buy it myself. I think Dirk served a role, and I really liked him as a villain in Xenoblade 3. He was a great mechanism to introduce us to the world of Mobius, to the world of Ionios as a whole, in Xenoblade 3, and show us interlinking, because he's this brash, arrogant jabroni, who's just in your face, overly confident, not afraid to spout out exposition to you, just because he knows that even with this information, you're not going to do anything with it, right? He's Dirk. He's Mobius. He's going to pound you into the pavement. He was such a cool antagonist, in my opinion. I'm not a proponent of the idea that every villain has to have some kind of sympathetic backstory. Every now and then, I do like those villains who are just evil and out to get you, you know? Like Dirk's backstory, where he just took his bootleg Mumka claws and just slaughtered colonies with them. That dude was evil and made you want to beat him to a pulp. And sure, I wish we got a little bit more with him throughout the story of Xenoblade 3. I still think he served a very important role within the confines of the narrative of Xenoblade 3 as a whole, because when you have a world like Ionia's, right? A world all about war, this perpetual, endless cycle of war. You are raised, you live, you eat, you sleep, all for the war effort. And you die for the war effort, to be reborn back into it, for the cycle to repeat again. Raised in that environment, not everyone's gonna walk away, wanting to tear it all down, wanting to fight for what's right. That environment can be the breeding ground for a whole host of different types of characters, Dirk being one of them. Just some people who have that bloodlust and are able to quench it again and again within the world of Ionios, where it feels like a world that was tailor-made for them, so they can enact their evil upon the world. He took up the mantle of Mobius, because that was a world that Dirk wanted to defend. It was his playground, and we were just all the army men. And when you're telling a story about a world hung up in that endless cycle of war, having characters like Dirk, in my opinion, are important. Because yes, there are some people, and there are some concepts that are morally gray, with this nuance. And then there's stories like Dirk, that are just morally bankrupt and twisted, and you know, in your bottom of your heart, they are a problem that needs to be rectified. He was a threat throughout all of Xenoblade 3 up to when he died, right? Whether it be when we first got our Ouroboros forms at the end of Chapter 1, or when we were at Keva's castle, he was always there. Yunie's flashback as well. Always there, this big threat you knew that you couldn't reason with. The only way through this wall was to go through it. And that moment came with Urine, when they did a DBZ fusion together. It was cool. And I'm glad he exists as a character, in the same way that I'm glad that Mumka exists as a character in Xenoblade 1, for very similar reasons. Because while there are villains in the series that we can get through to, like Jin, or Egil, or N, at the very end, there are some you can't, like Mumka, like Amalthus, like Dirk. And I don't think that his character needs to have a storyline attached to him to try and make him feel sympathetic, to try and make us care about him and wanting to rescue him just because he's the son of Rex and Mythra. I don't think his character really needs that. I think he's able to stand on his own 2 feet as a villain, as a character in the world of Xenoblade 3, and hold his own, and not need to be attached to other characters that we really care about on an emotional level. I just don't think he needs it. And I think Monolith know that as well, because I don't think this is the direction that they're going to go with this character. Personally, I still subscribe to what I said a couple of days ago. I believe we will see Mythra's kid in Xenoblade 4. I think they'll probably end up being one of the main party members. And probably in a few days, I'll make a video detailing what I think the party will consist of in Xenoblade 4. So let's just have fun with it. Roll with it. Why not? We have years. We might as well do a little bit of theory crafting. Just throw a bunch of things at the wall and see what could possibly stick. What makes sense? Okay, this makes sense. We're going to move on with that. What else makes sense? We're going to attach it to this? Okay, cool. Let's go with this. We're just trying to construct a larger puzzle with disconnected little remnants, fragments of pieces. And I like that. I like trying to get in the heads of the writers and of the developers, seeing what they want to try and tell in terms of a story, and try to get one step ahead of them. We'll probably never will, because a story is very fluid. It can change and it can morph throughout years. I still find it a fun process nonetheless, especially with a team of writers that are as competent as the team at Monolith for Xenoblade, because they love foreshadowing. They love leaving you little breadcrumbs for you to pick up and analyze. I just don't think Dirk being Mythra's kid is the direction that they want to go for this story. That's just my opinion, though. You can feel free to disagree. And if you do, please leave a comment down below with your own theories and your opinions. I would love to hear them and read them. And if you agree with me, leave a comment down below with where you think the story is going to go from here. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps channel out and help support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games if you can, and as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye bye everybody, until we meet again.